Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind podcast. In this week's show, we're going to recap Fight to Win 127 in Dallas, Texas. We're going to talk about the World Jiu Jitsu Festival. We're going to talk a little about Battle Grapple 6. We're going to talk about Nicky Rod versus PD3, Pat Downey, in Who is Number One, and we're going to preview a little bit Forged in Fire, some super fights there. As always, on the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined with my co-host,
Emil.
Dude, I'm still very tired.
Dude, it's 2 years till the next ADCC. I'm kind of bummed.
I'm kind of bummed, but I'm also kind of ready.
No, I know.
Dude.
I got sick.
Did you get sick?
Yeah, like I being West Coast time, not sleeping very much, coming back, my sleep patterns were totally hosed, and I think I think between the travel and lack of sleep, I am clearly hoarse.
Dude.
Been like coughing a bunch, so
so we're gonna news.
Worth
here.
it.
We're gonna news here in a second, dude. I got home. I took off Tuesday. We got in Monday at like midnight ish from ADCC. I didn't know what time my flights were. I actually was on the same flight with you and Rachel. That was very nice.
Yeah.
And I took off that Tuesday. I went to bed at I edited probably till I think 12:15 or I think I did till 1:30 that morning. I don't know. Everything's a blur. I then woke up Tuesday at 1:10 in the afternoon.
yeah.
My body was like, hey, you've been up till 3:30 or 4:30 every morning, our time, editing for ADCC. You need to take a sleep.
Yeah.
So I woke up Tuesday and I was like, what did my body just do to me?
You had a ton of amazing interviews.
I'm still putting out interviews from ADCC.
Yeah, there's we got to interview basically all of our favorite grapplers.
Yeah, there's
everyone's favorite grapplers.
There's a bunch of guys that I missed. I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to get an interview or literally get to talk to that guy.
We didn't have time to do
No.
it. There's literally just no time.
If you haven't heard the interviews we did interviews with Gordon Ryan, Gary Tonin, Tanquinho,
Lachlan
Thor,
Giles.
Orlando Sanchez, Craig Jones, Lachlan Giles. Those are all up right now on our YouTube
Gabby
page.
Garcia.
Gabby Garcia. That's on Instagram right now. And so go find our YouTube page, Grappling Rewind, and look at those interviews because we did some really cool interviews with those guys, and I think it's really good content. Again, we're looking to expand more content on the YouTube side of things, so take a look. I'm going to be putting more stuff on YouTube as time goes on, but as well as the podcast and some other things we're doing. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, I also updated the website. So the website now has some ADCC-related articles on it that David put out. It's going to have one by the time this comes out that you made to go up there, maybe one or two. Our events list is updated. It's been a big Grappling Rewind week.
Yeah, there's been a lot of just amazing stuff. Like I'm still trying to think back on my favorite moment of ADCC, and it's just impossible to pick.
For some reason, I have a soft place in my heart for when Gordon Ryan and Gary Tonin took the mat to face off against each other. That was just in the arena. There was something cool about the crowd because it wasn't just hype to see a match. It was hype to see these two guys face each other in a competitive setting. It had a different kind of aura to the crowd. Had a different kind of aura when those two guys walked out to fight each other.
Honestly, it was a little somber for me. It seemed like Gary usually comes out goofy, but he was not goofy at all.
He was not nearly as goofy this week. The whole ADCC.
No, I mean he had his cowboy hat, he had his Five Guys shirt, he did stuff. But when he walked out to this match, there was a somberness to it. And Gordon on Instagram, I think, earnestly said that it was the saddest moment of his life, having to submit
his coach
basically in the biggest in the biggest arena that there is in grappling. And that's tough.
But that moment of those two guys walking out was really special for me. Fionn upsetting
Bia. Oh yeah,
was a huge moment.
That was
all
electric.
3 Lachlan Giles finishes. Again, we talked about this all last week. It was amazing. But having a week to kind of ruminate and see kind of how everyone took the losses, everyone took the wins, what people have done beyond there. I think Lachlan said he gained 12,000 followers in the first day after that on Instagram.
That run was momentous. And again, I think without any hyperbole, I think that was the most memorable kind of series of wins in the entire tournament.
It was huge.
It's just funny.
In other Instagram news, Fight to Win 2019 has now changed its Instagram handle to ADCC 2019 has changed its handle to ADCC 2021.
Yeah.
So I'm already getting excited for the next one.
Dude,
again, we're only about a year out from the next set of trials.
Yeah.
or not even a year out from the next set of trials. I think the trials usually take place November, or I forget when the East Coast trials take place, but like that, the whole cycle kind of begins anew.
Yeah,
and
absolutely,
it's just awesome. Oh, also shout out to BJJ World TV. We're using some of their photos.
Yeah,
follow them. They produce some other like really really good content, like similar to what we do. A lot more on Instagram side, like text based stuff, really cool interviews and other stuff. So shout out to those guys.
They have my favorite picture of Lachlan Giles submitting Muhammad Ali. It's just iconic when you see it. You know, it's I think the photo, you know, it shows.
Oh
the
my
submission.
God! On that was last week. That was after we recorded the show. There was an image of Muhammad Ali getting submitted by Lachlan, and on the post it was Muhammad Ali commenting, tagging Kenan Duarte and Patrick Gaudio, like, we need to get this DVD.
It was hilarious. I thought that was such a classy move by Muhammad Ali. It was hilarious. It was endearing, like, and it gave Lachlan the props that he deserved.
I was listening to the Fistful of Collars podcast. They were doing their ADCC recap show. I listened to so many ADCC recap shows this week. It's been like reliving it over and over and over again. And they talked about how Gaudio and Muhammad were like getting their knees looked at after Lachlan, their Lachlan match. And they were both upset. And apparently they both looked at each other and just started laughing. So I was like, that's the way to take that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
because any one of them, like, if that had happened to one of them, they would have been really salty about it. But because they had three, including the plus 99 kilogram ADCC champion, like, you can't be that mad. Yeah.
So let's see what else. Oh yeah, BJJ Fanatics has announced a black belt invitational.
Hell yeah.
Huge fan of the brown belt invitational they ran. Brown belt and under invitational they ran a couple of weeks ago. Maybe a month ago at this point. Not quite. So super excited to see who they announced for the black belt invitational. That brown belt invitational had some huge names on it, so I can't even imagine who they're going to get, especially with the networking that they have.
Yeah, like the brown belt was like, it was like Roberto Jimenez, Nicky Rodriguez. I'm trying to remember.
Desiree Childre was on there.
Yes, huge.
Pierre Clerc was on there.
Yeah, huge names.
Yeah, big names. So I'm super excited. I want to make a shift. I think in the news segment, I want to start talking about big matchups that get announced like that week.
Yeah.
Because we'll miss some of them, but like we've historically on the Grappling Rewind, like a big announcement has been, you're still sick, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
A big matchup has been announced, and then when that event comes up, we will talk about it. Or if it's a huge matchup, we might bring it up in news. I think I want to start bringing up those big matchups, like when we learn about them, because I think a lot of those, really what the news segment is for is like stuff like that in general.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to start doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have no big matchup to announce at this point. But
by the way, going back to what we were just talking about with the BJJ Fanatics Black Belt Invitational, it was actually a really great moment that Maine and I got to have. We got to pick Bernardo Faria's mind for a little bit.
Cool. The interview's not out yet. I got to get that interview out.
I'm just saying as a moment, it's really awesome because we got to talk to him about what it was like for him as a fan to attend the event, what he was looking forward to, all those things. And Bernardo's the man. He's super friendly, super approachable. Anyone, if you see him, just go and talk to him about jiu-jitsu. He's super friendly and obviously brilliant. So, I highly encourage you picking his brain about it. But that was a great moment that Maine and I had at ADCC as well.
Dude, there's so many great moments. Let's see what other things I have. Tell your friends about the show. It's the best way that we grow the show. I always talk about it at the end of the show. We have a segment where we kind of talk about that, but I throw it in the news section occasionally. Like, that is the best way that we grow the show. It's the best way that we bring new people into, the listening audience. So if you do have a gym that you train at and you have folks that are interested in professional jiu-jitsu, shoot them over to us and see if they like the show as well.
And check out our Instagram too. We have nice little clips that Maine really tastefully puts to audio or video so you can see. No, I mean, it's really great.
I try. I work really hard on the edits for those.
Absolutely. In fact, I think when we were talking about Amanda Levy, like way back in like episode 66, someone reshared that recently. Like this past
I saw
week.
that.
And it's a great example. It's an interesting little like audio and visual sort of bite, and then share that if you like it. By all means, send that to people that that train.
Yeah, feel free to reshare any of the stuff on the Instagram page. Like, I don't care about that. Yeah, appreciate it. Oh, BJJ Trickster also put us in their video when we were talking about Lachlan Giles. They tagged us in it, and it's basically the beginning of our segment is talking about him submitting everyone at Connectic.
Oh, yeah.
And then they
right.
kept sort of highlight video and like a breakdown video of what techniques he's using and where the intro to that. So that was really cool as well. What else? Oh yeah. So speaking of that Lachlan Giles finish, Kent Peters. He is a hilarious dude on Instagram and on like other platforms. Had put a YouTube video showing and breaking down Lachlan Giles' entry into that 50-50 heel. And you were right, it was a 50-50 heel hook entry. It's really good, and it like breaks it down. And Kent shows it like just a beautiful like instructional of how he did that.
I saw it. It's really helpful because, it's a really subtle movement. It's brilliant. You also see how Lachlan is successful with it. Like, I think we talked about this before. People talked about him doing 2-on-1 grips on a leg and then the leg not moving when people think that they can kind of running man escape. And it actually helps out because we saw something like this scenario occur in the Tanquinho Mateus Gabriel match.
Yeah,
real so similar setup. Exact same setup. So, we'll
get to that in the Fight to Win breakdown.
I think people are starting to see it. People are starting to look back at that tape and learning from it already.
It's a really, really solid entry, but shout out to Kent Peters on that because I think of all the videos breakdowns I've seen, that one, for me at least, was the one that like it's very succinct, it's very good, couple different angles, and Ken just walks through exactly how that entry happens, and it's really cool that other people are like good at jiu-jitsu creating like, hey, this is how this happened. Yeah. I'm a big fan of that. So do we have anything else in the news?
I think just some minor stuff like did you see the beef between Tanquinho and AJ on Instagram?
Oh, I saw it. Again, BJJ World, those guys put together like all the comments back and forth between AJ Agazarm and Tanquinho. And Tanquinho was like, yo, set it up. I don't give a shit.
He, with no regard for human life, just murked AJ in the comments. Tanquinho goes through every single major grappling anything, any title, and is like, did you win this? No. Did you win this?
Dude,
did you win IBJJF Worlds? No.
Goes,
Pans?
And I beat you in Moscow.
ADCC.
And you can't cry. It was like, Jesus.
Yeah, it was brutal, man.
And then he tagged his manager. He was like, I think manager and Bellator was like, make it happen. And I was like, yo, Tanquinho, you don't want that Tanquinho smoke.
That is some smoke. That is some smoke. Oh my God. Yeah. Normally,
we don't really talk about.
We don't talk about this, but like also Tanquinho doesn't talk shit. Like
no.
he seems like legitimately pretty pious as a person. Like,
dude, he gave us a great interview. It was like super reserved.
Friendly. He seemed super chill. He had that really awesome moment with Paulo after their match where they were just on the mats, kind of like they were talking about that they were like
seems
praying
like
together.
A great guy.
Like seems like a chill guy. I think AJ really pissed him off. So
AJ really pisses everyone off. So that's what's new in beef this week is Tanquinho getting upset with AJ Agazarm. Honestly, I'd watch that match.
Yeah, sure. I watch any Tanquinho match. He's been a huge fan out of me.
So I think that does it for news. Moving to the recaps. So we are back for day 2 of episode 100. We got Emil back then. This is going to go right at the end of the news segment, so people have no idea why we've jumped again. Basically, some big news came out, and we had to finish some previews. So big news, Mo announced that he got ADCC 2021, and it will be in the United States.
And not only that, but he announced that he's already bringing Seth back on board, which is wonderful because
we got real excited about. I was like, cool. Like if 2019 was this big, they're going to go even bigger for 2021.
Well, it's just there's already so few questions in terms of production now. Yeah. We've seen what these guys can do. They already had the most successful ADCC.
They produced the biggest and best grappling event of all time.
Yeah.
Hands down. So it's like the fact that both that team is going to work together again in the next 2 years, and they have 2 years to plan it now because, like, look, who you're going in. They have even more planning time, even more preparation time.
All the fighters know who they're going to be talking to.
They know what worked. They know what didn't work. It's the same team. Like, just that same team getting together to do another event is just, it brings me joy because I know that they already produced the best grappling event that's ever been seen, and they're going to do it again.
And, I am excited for it to be in the United States because it makes it a little bit easier for me to attend, but that's not the real reason why I'm excited. I'm excited for the continuity, right?
Yeah.
And building off of, this really exciting event that they put on. I think this is a really pivotal moment in grappling, and I'm glad that they're capitalizing on it. And they are saying, okay, we have something here. We have the streaming capability. We have the crowd. We have the production. We have all of these pieces that finally the sport might be able to really take this as a foothold and grow to a larger audience.
So that's what I hope. So they're proposing locations, and we talked about this privately for a while, yesterday and even today. Mo is trying to push Vegas 2021. Emil and I were kind of going like, it'd be dope. Miami would be dope. You talked about New York as well as being like a really good, like, you want to bring in a local market. So it's like, it's cool right now. There are all these discussions about if it's going to be the United States, where in the United States, basically different places are kind of almost making their bids now. Like, fans are going, you should host it in my city because. And so Mo seems to want to host it in Vegas. He put some really good information out as to why he wants to host it in Vegas. Vegas is the MMA. It's the fight capital of the world for MMA and boxing and other sports. So he kind of wants to bring ADCC there to kind of establish it and legitimize it in that same area.
So this is just Emil Santos-Rosado speaking his own mind.
This is that caveat, like, not endorsed by the Grappling Rewind.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of is if you're saying it here.
Yeah, but it's just my take. I've never run I haven't produced anything. I'm not a promoter, but here's my thought. The reason why I say New York is it's probably the largest, but maybe at worst second largest population of jiu-jitsu practitioners in the United States, with the only exception to that maybe being Southern California.
It was either San Diego or Los Angeles proper.
And I would say that probably New York, the greater New York area, just by sheer numbers.
Just about, what, you say 20 million people?
Yeah, in the greater New York area. 20 million people.
I mean, it's within drive distance for us.
And just look at the schools that are in Manhattan alone, right? You have Unity, you have Marcelo Garcia, and you have Renzo Gracie.
Yeah.
And
all of those guys had places. Did Unity win anything?
I think Shaolin is also in New York. I mean, people don't talk about him as much, but that's another huge.
There's a bunch of huge affiliations and a bunch of guys from like that area that produce world-class level grapplers. Again, it's not a bad bait. I just think New York's really hard to get around in. So, like,
but it's like, I feel like what you have to do is you have to build volume, right? Like, you have to have a larger event. Like, what I would love to see is in Emil's ideal world, sell out Madison Square Garden, right? Like,
that would be cool.
That would just be huge.
That would be cool.
It would just be like, it would be just colossal. I've been to NFL games, and the feeling of walking into a stadium with like 30, 40, 50,000 people in there screaming is like, different experience. It's a different experience. And so to have that, I would love to see.
Mo wants to do the MGM in Vegas, which I think is another one of those pivotal arenas that you could do.
I don't know how big MGM is. But
I used to know, but I don't know.
10 to 20,000 people.
Is it that? I think it's smaller than that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to speak out of my ass.
I just feel like, if you do ADCC building off of what happened in LA this year, you do
and the massive success that was.
I think modestly you could double those numbers in New York City.
And I can't speak to it. I think that would maybe be realistic, but it's got a good airport. Like, LA has a good airport. So.
But like, airports aside, just look at the local population. Then you have 3 major airports within 40 minutes to an hour, right? You have Newark, you have LaGuardia, you have JFK. Boom. Not to mention, you're drawing from 20 million people.
Yeah. So we're postulating. This will be a conversation that we continue until the actual city is announced. But I got excited about it. In the U.S., Mo's doing it, Seth's doing it. Like,
wherever it is,
it's
going
to be awesome. Yeah, we're going. Like, as soon as I'm going to do the exact same thing I did last year, which is as soon as the dates are announced, I'm buying ADCC tickets and I'm buying flights.
Yes, we were just talking to a friend about this. Like, you have to go. If you're listening to this podcast and you're in the United States or somewhere.
Start budgeting now.
Yeah.
You have 2 years.
Yep.
Proper 2 years.
Yeah.
Start budgeting to go on this badass adventure to ADCC 2021.
Absolutely.
So, anything else on that?
That's it.
Awesome. Go save for the event. Go to the event. Oh, also, I forgot about news. This is Grappling Rewind episode 100.
The big 100. Congratulations, man.
You've been here for like most of them at this point.
Yeah, at this point.
The whole team, so. I'm the only one that's been on all of them. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But we made it to 100.
Yeah.
No one's stopped us yet. Honestly,
FCC hasn't come down on us. Dude. Like, me and Josh can drop as many F-bombs as we want.
Pretty much,
great.
Yeah. It's great. You were episode 100. We were going to do a big thing for episode 100, but ADCC happened the week before, so Emil's been sick. I've been super tired.
It's been episode 100 week, okay?
Basically, yeah.
Maine especially has put in a bunch of effort releasing releasing these amazing interviews. We typically don't do interviews. I think when we can talk to someone that is a huge name that anyone can relate to, and they can talk about a specific event that they are engaging in, that they're competing in, I think that's great. I think your interviews are wonderful. It was great to interact with everybody there. So episode 100, there you go. You had a whole week of content. You had 3 ADCC episodes that we released live, basically like every single night of ADCC.
Yeah, so 100 like numbered episodes. Episodes that come out on Tuesday typically.
But this week there's a plethora of Grappling Rewind that you can listen and watch. And we're happy to share that with you. We were happy to meet a bunch of people.
That was awesome.
Like a bunch of listeners. That was really great to interact with people. Thanks for the feedback and everything.
Yeah,
and
I think it'll help make our show better, and I'm super excited for what the next 100 episodes will bring.
Yeah, we're hoping to expand. And
I think we're definitely going to do more interviews at events. I think we have some. Emil and I and the whole team have talked about basically expanding in some different areas and being able to do additional content and give basically additional stuff and in professional information to the community. I think we're really excited about that. Nothing we want to really announce yet, but we had a big discussion between everyone on the team here about like episode 100 and what we were looking for post ADCC and what we were looking to do in the future. And we have some real cool stuff in the works. So
because it's been just about 2 years now.
Pretty much. I think November 7th. Fight to Win. I know about Fight to Wins. Fight to Win 53 was the first show. And we've been doing it ever since then. I think November 7th or 11th of 2017. Right. We've missed 1 week, which was that first Christmas, like a month in, and then we've not missed a show since then.
Yeah.
So that does it for episode 100 talk. We were going to do a more special episode. We have Rob Sullivan on to talk about the wrestling matchup between Nick Rodriguez and PD3 Pat Downey a little later in this episode. And awesome. So
thanks for tuning in for 100 episodes.
We appreciate your time. So, moving on to our recap of Fight to Win 127. This event paid at a total of $36,939 in salaries and commissions and was headlined by black belt Augusto Tinquinho Mendez defeating Mateus Gabriel via split decision to become the Fight to Win lightweight no-gi champion. This is a rematch from ADCC.
Yeah, and this took place in Dallas, Texas. But yeah, I'm amazed by Seth's matchmaking. If you look at the next 3 headliners, right?
Baller headliners.
Like you have ADCC rematch between Tinquinho and Mateus Gabriel.
The week after ADCC.
You have Gordon Ryan versus Muhammad Ali in 2 weeks.
2 weeks after the ADCC. Oh no, in 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
So October 18th. That's the Jersey card, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the week after that, you have the ADCC rematch of the plus 99 kilogram finals, Kaynan Duarte versus Nicky Rodriguez.
The craziest lineup of all time.
That's just amazing matchmaking by Seth. That's brilliant.
Dude, it's funny. Like half the guys we interviewed after ADCC were like, whatever, I'm looking to get more matches with Fight to Win, and whatever Seth's gonna match me up on. I'm like, if all your top guys are like looking for matchups on Fight to Win, like this is why we cover Fight to Win every single week almost, because they put on fire matches. This was a fire match.
Fire matches, and they're constantly evolving, right? Like now
adding judo title match.
Judo's been amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, Fight to Win has been incredible. Seth's matchmaking has been incredible, and now they are becoming a household name in jiu-jitsu, and we're excited to be covering them. So, but on to Fight to Win 127. We have Augusto Tinquinho Mendez defeating Mateus Gabriel by split decision.
I don't know if this should have been a split decision, by the way. I think a split decision was a little weird here.
I do think it was split decision. Here's why. So we had Tinquinho basically doing all of the passing, and he most of the passing was from standing. So there's amazing guard work by Mateus.
Yeah.
At one point, Mateus gets like a near baby bolo type situation, and then he ends up grabbing the leg.
6:45 into the match, or remaining in the match. I had to pick a time stamp of it because it was like, that was a really cool like transition.
So it's really cool because he very barely uses his arms in this. It's just really fast leg movement. He gets a near baby bolo, and rather than trying to take the back or anything, he's really intelligent to the rules, and he goes for a leg lock, and it's the same leg lock setup that Lachlan Giles hits on Muhammad Ali. But there's a key difference, and that's where...
That it's Tenquinho.
Well...
And Tenquinho's real good.
The other thing, too, is that Lachlan... what he does is he gets the 2-on-1 grip on that ankle, and then he rips the leg up into a saddle position first.
Okay.
In this case, Mateus Gabriel just launched immediately into the heel hook and wasn't able to get to that deep saddle that Lachlan hit.
Okay.
And so Tenquinho was able to get
I looked
up.
at it. I was trying to figure out exactly why and how it was different. That makes a lot of sense.
You'll see that he launches immediately.
Because I was thinking about where
the
the foot position was, and it's right. He's not as passed across in that kind of deep saddle like you were talking about.
Right.
He's like a little more shallow.
Right.
That makes sense.
So Tenquinho is able to escape. And
throughout the entire match, though, Tenquinho was doing something I think low key that sealed the match for him. In my eyes, is why really maybe it shouldn't be a split decision, is because he kept attacking that Estima lock from standing, and he had good bites on the Estima over and over and over again, and he was the one that was throwing up. I think he threw up at least 4 or 6 of them throughout the match. They were legitimately, and Mateus had to move or change his foot. They weren't just throwing up wasted subs. They were legitimately strong, and he was cranking into the Estima locks. That, for me, in the fight to win rule set, the guy throwing up subs, I think those are what won him the match in my eyes.
Possibly, but the thing is that you get into this scenario where it's how do you weigh a bunch of Estima lock attempts versus one deep inside heel hook attempt, right?
Right.
So it's a little different, and then
we've talked about this before. How much does one rear naked choke count for versus
minutes on the back attacking a rear naked choke
versus one super deep one that doesn't work.
Yeah. So or 2 or 3 leg lock attempts, right? So there it's hard to weigh these things. And actually, at one point, Tenquinho goes for his own heel hook. Basically, it's a scramble exchange.
Oh, that's right. That's what I'm talking about.
At
6:45.
And Tenquinho goes for his own heel hook. I think, for example, and this is completely subjective, but I think it's less threatening. It's an outside Ashigarami attack that Mateus, is able to escape immediately. So I think it's a tough call. I can see, depending on how people interpret those threats, I could see it going differently. So,
that's reasonable assessment.
Tenquinho was pressuring the whole time. So if you call it even with the submission attempts, I think it's clear.
The top passer, and we tend to see. I think I kind of like where the meta's going. That you can pull guard, that's fine, but the top passer is going to get the stallings, which aren't really a thing in fight to win. But they're also going to win the decision if they're being active.
Exactly.
I like that. Because
I think that's such an even way to do it. They get the stalling penalties, but they get the decision if they maintain.
Right, and I think that's I like the current meta that we're seeing, because I feel like we're getting a lot less matches that are kind of City and Stolly in that knee cut. We're getting guys on the top that are really trying to fire that knee cut through, which is what Tenquinho did for the majority of the match here.
Right. So, great match. Tenquinho is a beast. Happy to see him competing again. We saw him with one of our favorite matches in Fight to Win versus
the Wagner matchup.
That was amazing.
That's still a great match. So I got to say it on the show, I need your list of Rewind recommends matches so I can get it up on the website.
Here, I'll start doing that now.
Okay.
While we continue on. So next match
we have Vitor Oliveira defeating Rafael Formiga Barbosa to become the Fight to Win Masters welterweight champion. Barbosa was 7-0 going into this matchup.
Yeah, but it was a dominating match for Vitor.
Vitor was just on top.
Just
Barbosa
was
just trying to sweep. He started from the half guard from the pole, and he got some really cool half guard entries going. He would get out, he'd get up to a dogfight position, he'd almost get over. But Vitor did a great job the entire time stuffing, I think, every single entry and turnover and sweep attempt. I think they went up for the feet a couple times, but Formiga would pull again into the half guard, and he would get some really nice lapel work. It was a beautiful technical match, definitely a little bit on the slower side, but it was just Vitor just shut all of the passes down, really technically.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looked completely suffocating. Vitor again completely dominated there. But yeah, we can move on.
It was a fun match. It was super technical, and I'm interested to see now that Formiga's not the champion, who they're going to give him, because I assume that he is on the short list again to re-challenge for that title. So, interesting. So, next match we have Buddy Roberts defeating Rocky Birdie via Cloverleaf, and that was submission of the night for the black belts. This is a nifty setup. This is like my favorite setup for the clover leaf.
This was an amazing match, and actually we had to check to make sure that the knee wasn't completely blown out after this. But basically, Buddy gets a takedown, and Rocky reguards, and he goes to a seated guard with one leg in and one leg out, and Buddy backsteps and sits into the saddle.
This is my absolute favorite cloverleaf entry because you sit back, and then the way that you have your hips positioned is like you can roll and get both their legs on top of each other to finish for this clover. I think on the show, I had to show you what a cloverleaf was.
Yes, you did.
30 or 40 episodes. You're like, what is a cloverleaf? I'm like, it's this thing. You're like, oh, that sucks a lot. I don't like that at all.
Well, it's amazing because even if you don't hit the cloverleaf submission itself,
you have
both
hook,
legs.
You have the knee bar. You have heel hook on both legs. You have the knee bar. There's a toe hold you can go for there, and you get the cast. But like the Texas cloverleaf is low key. It's like, that's my favorite entry because it goes to the knee bar, or you can get the cloverleaf.
Yep.
And you can keep fighting through like all of these different submissions as the guy tries to escape.
Which is crazy because Rocky doesn't seem to be aware of how much danger he's in. Like,
I think he's aware that entry is super strong though. Like, it's really hard with the angle of your hips to start pulling stuff out where the cloverleaf is. Like, cloverleaf, whenever guys get hit with the cloverleaf, it always looks like there's this weird pause because you're not at a good angle to come for the hands. You're not at a good angle to like roll the hips because you have both legs turned. You're not at a good angle to like turn the feet. Like, it's just this kind of like dead-ended position unless you've kind of got the jump and you're starting to free your knee line out. Like,
yeah,
it's a really nifty sub, and this I think is my favorite way I see it entered and my favorite way I see it finished. That top side Texas cloverleaf, beautiful, deserves submission of the night. At about 5 hours and 40 minutes and 58 seconds is when that happens in the match footage. If you want to go back and watch it, highly recommend. I love the Texas cloverleaf.
Yeah, one of Maine's favorites for sure. It's awesome submission, great entry. We have Johnny Tama defeating Diego Santana by rear naked choke. Tony Trammell defeats Dave Matthews by heel hook. Marcus Antelante defeats Rafael Lang by decision. Michael Foster defeats Jody Jones by decision. Andre Gomez defeats Tony Tipton by decision. Igor Paiva defeats Jonathan Hunter by decision. Luana Alzagir defeats Chelsea Lyons by decision. Jordan Burton III defeats Alex Guerrero by decision. Lucas Lima defeats Devin Ordinario by decision.
And onto the judo matches.
These were fucking awesome.
Dude,
as per
the
usual.
judo matches for Fight to Win are always that hot, spicy fire.
Absolutely. We have Taylor Weber defeating Nathan Kearney by decision.
And this is about 5 hours and 25 minutes into the event footage. He becomes the Fight to Win judo featherweight champion. Is this the first? This is one of the first few, if not
titles,
the first title for judo that Fight to Win has done.
I can't remember one, yeah.
I talked about it. Oh, this being the first one. I'm not sure if we talked about when we previewed this matchup that this is the first one, or if one has occurred previously. But it's one of definitely the first few. I'm pretty sure
this is it, because this is also some of the most judo matches we've seen.
I think we've seen 5 or 6 is the most. I think there might have been one card where there were more, but like typically we see like 2 to 3. So it's cool to see the more judo being showcased on the cards because the judo matches, like, they always guys just bring it.
Especially when you start looking at the next match. We have EJ Lynch defeating Matthew Kearney by choke.
Well, I want to talk about the previous match.
Sure.
There was a really cool modified Peruvian necktie entry here. It's from like a clock choke variation.
There was a bunch in the other match too.
Yeah, dude, there's like 2 or 3 different matches on this card that had a really similar like judo Peruvian necktie. Like some guy goes for the clock choke and then they loop around and they step over and for like a one-armed Peruvian variation with the gi. Really cool. You see it occasionally in Jiu-Jitsu, but it was cool to see like a couple different judoka on this card utilizing that entry. It was like really interesting.
So we have EJ Lynch defeating Matthew Kearney by choke.
And this was submission of the night for the judokas.
So yeah, EJ hits really nice Uchimata to Ouchigari combos. Like the only reason why I know that is because I watched a breakdown where they broke down Ronda Rousey, and this is like her favorite combo, basically.
It's a really strong combo. You see it work like in gi and no-gi and MMA.
It attacks the near leg with the Uchimata and then the far leg with the Kochi. Yeah. So it's awesome.
There's a dude on my club that hits this on me all the time, and I've got him to teach it to me because I really love the Uchimata. Like I throw the Uchimata in no-gi and in gi. Like I'm really, really comfortable with that throw. But he has really good combos off of it, so it's really cool to actually be in my own training, be learning this combo and then to see it getting hit in a professional matchup.
So then Matthew attempts a double leg on EJ, and EJ reverses. Matthew turtles, and then EJ steps into a triangle from the back. And he holds it for a while. He's even transitions to an arm bar.
He's holding it, and like the commentators are like, he's out. He's not out. He's out. He's not out.
Which is crazy.
I think he's out.
Like, I don't, like, in jiu-jitsu, it's weird. In jiu-jitsu, I never see someone actually get choked from that. It's usually a control grip.
He's in a reverse triangle from the back.
Yeah.
Basically, he's in inverted.
Inverted triangle from the back.
So there's like 4 different triangles.
Right.
You have the triangle. You have the reverse triangle,
So
which is
when
on
you
the
say
wrong
reverse
side.
triangle, I always think of your legs going goofy, right?
Yeah.
So
basically, instead of choking on the good side, you're choking on the bad side.
Right,
Like
exactly.
the non-arm side.
Exactly.
Right. So that's a reverse triangle.
So
then you have an inverted triangle, which is when you're upside
down.
Then
And
you have a triangle from the back, which is when you're seated in there in your lap.
Right.
Then you have an inverted triangle from the back.
That's
and
what
then
we
you have
had
an
here.
inverted reverse triangle.
Okay,
So
this was an inverted triangle from
Right.
the back.
I always get super confused with all the naming and terminology because I'm like, okay, was this a reverse, inverted, or reverse? Because there's so many variations you can triangle someone with. So this was a reverse triangle from the back.
Right.
Yeah.
I love this attack. I've seen judoka hit this a lot. In fact,
Well, it's right off the sprawl, and if you get far enough on the guy in the sprawl, and you can start locking your legs around him,
Yeah, why not?
like,
Boom.
Yeah, it's rare to see it in jiu-jitsu, but like in judo, you see guys like we see this position a lot more in that like way where guys are driving on
I
their
think
legs.
probably because in jiu-jitsu, when someone turtles, people are way more focused on taking the back. But in judo,
Yeah.
that you want to just get the quick finish, and so people will. Dude, I literally. So when I went to the judo open back in like 2011 or
New York
2012,
Open?
yeah,
Yeah.
I saw this huge dude from Germany hit this, where it was a turtle. He just grabs the dude's belt, grabs behind the collar, literally just like deadlifts the dude off of the ground, and then steps into a triangle to choke him from the back. And I was like, that's baller. We would never do that in jiu-jitsu. We definitely try to take the back and work like
Dude,
an RNC.
that's why I like the judo fight to win, because you see like a bunch of other groundwork that's like, oh, that's slick. Like the Peruvians, like all the
Yeah.
Peruvian entries, like,
Yep.
oh, that's a slick entry to that.
And basically, this inverted triangle from the back is super tight, and Matthew ends up going unconscious.
Yeah.
Like,
And like
he's-
I didn't
he's out.
see it. This was not like a Valhalla club. This was like, is he out? And Seth's looking at it like, is he out? Is he not? And like,
Yeah,
and like I have absolutely no idea. I watched the finish like 2 times. No idea when he goes out.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but so I think he was just kind of fighting semi-conscious or whatever.
Deservedly submission of the night for the judokas for fight
Awesome.
to win here.
Go back and watch it. We have Gyala Kalman defeating Garrett Andrews 1 to 0. We have Matt Jackson defeating David Yoshida 1 to 0.
And that was fight of the night for the judokas. Matt came out, and on his title card for his name, it was listed as Sexy Matt Jackson. I just love it, because Fight to Win usually like puts people's like names on the card. They don't usually put like haha funny caveats. So it was funny to actually have him introduced on the card as Sexy Matt Jackson.
Yeah. This match had great exchanges. There was
Another Peruvian was in
blast
this one.
single. There's multiple times.
Yeah.
This like clock choke Peruvian necktie.
I like the way judokas go for the single leg, because they go for that single leg with the whole point to slam you on your back. Like, it's not that wrestling single leg or like the jiu-jitsu single leg where it's like, cool, I want to sit you to your butt and get around your guard. It's no, I want to lift you up and turn you. It's like the DC single leg where like you get it up and you lift and you rotate them over and they land flat on their back. Like, I like how judo, it's like that impressive looking single leg, because they try to lift up and like walk the guy with it.
Yeah,
And
it's
you saw
awesome.
that here.
So the Ippon, I had to look this up.
Okay.
But I did. I'm
Well,
trying.
the camera angle's a little hard here too.
It is hard.
Because Seth walks right in front as the Ippon
I
happens.
think I found it.
Okay.
And I'm trying to learn to be able to identify judo throws that I'm not familiar with.
Right.
That we see less in jiu-jitsu. So this throw, I'll describe it to you first. Basically, Matt, they're fighting towards the edge of the corner. Matt has a collar grip, I think, and then with his far arm, he reaches over behind and gets a belt grip while they're facing each other.
Yep.
And then what he does is he does a kind of like wheeling motion towards that outside belt grip hand, and he kicks his right leg to hit David's far leg. Okay.
Yep.
So it's
And right now we're at a pretty standard entry for a lot of different throws.
right, and what happens is it's a wheeling throw where basically David goes completely like flying overhead. And I looked this up.
It looks almost like a foot sweep variation.
It looks like a foot sweep.
Yeah, but he's like, there's some super like big lift here as well on the foot sweep.
But the difference is like, yeah, exactly. There's lift and rotation. So I think it's a Sasai Surikomi Ashi. So it's a throw that I'd never heard of. I had to literally go through and...
One more time, Milf.
It's a Sasai Surikomi Ashi.
Sasai Surikomi Ashi.
Yes.
Sweet.
So it's translates to lifting, pulling, ankle prop.
That's exactly what happened. It was
exactly.
pulling ankle prop.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's why I love the judo names for those, because like the Japanese for me is super hard because I don't really speak Japanese, but I love the translations. It's always like, that's a big arm, like inside wheel throw. You're like, that's exactly what that throw is. Yeah, it's a big arm inside wheel throw. Like, oh, this is lifting big ankle prop throw. I'm like, oh, sweet. That makes sense.
So anyway, I think that's what that is. It'll be interesting to, in the future, sit down with more judoka and try to, expand our judo.
I'm low-key working on something to get
Sweet.
the judoka in to like talk some
That'd
judo
be great.
with us.
So
nothing yet, but I'm working on it.
Again, multiple Peruvian neckties by David. And David actually nearly hits a leg reap, but Matt twists around and lands belly down. At 1 second remaining, Matt hits a drop Saonage, but David pivots on his head to land in turtle. It was
This
a
is
great
a fun
match.
match. Like, this is a really, really fun match. It's, again, deservedly fight of the night for the judoka here. It was just like the match finished the time, and I was like, oh, that was like a quick match. I love when it's like, that was a quick match. Like, oh, shit, that was the whole time. Yeah. So, good match. Next match.
Hector Negron defeats Chad Stevenson by choke.
On to the brown belt results.
Hunter Colvin defeats Cody Steele by heel hook.
And that was submission of the night for the brown belts, and Hunter Colvin goes on to become the brown belt Nogi middleweight champion.
So I misspoke earlier. This was actually the match where we had to go back and check to make sure. Okay.
I wasn't going to say anything. You were like, his leg hurt. It's like, I was like, he'll get there eventually.
Yeah. This was the one. Oh my God. Great submission.
Because there's a highlight going up around on Instagram of Hunter Colvin. Basically, Cody Steele goes to like attack his own footlock, and Hunter like pummels the feet in, pummels the hands in, and it's that camera angle that you're looking sideways at the leg, and you get to watch the knee be here, like in front of you, and the heel like turn,
the knee
and
is
you
completely...
watch the leg do that like spiral motion. You're like, oh God, oh it's gonna break, oh it's gonna, and you're looking straight like profile on with the leg, and then like the tap happens and the leg snaps back into place, and I was just like, either his hands came off or he like spiral fractured all of his leg. And so I texted a message Hunter. I was like, hey, is this leg like good? And he was like, no, it's my hands coming off. I was like, cool.
Yeah, so great submission exchanges, Kimura traps, heel hooks, 50-50 heel hook shootouts. Basically, Cody has a loose heel hook attempt, and Hunter rotates around, grabs the leg, and gets into a saddle position to finish an inside heel hook. And insides are just brutal, man.
We're seeing much more of both these guys. Like, Hunter's been on the rise recently with some big wins. I can't come off hand. It's bothering me. Like, we've covered him a bunch of times on the show before. I know he has he has a couple big wins, and I'm trying to think of like what he was on. I know he was on EBI. He's been on some other stuff too. And Cody Steele, we've seen like, be super active and look super good recently. He's a highly both these guys are highly touted brown belts. This is really cool to see them match up. I assume this is not going to be the last time that these two guys match up. So exciting match. Keep an eye on both these guys. These are definitely guys that you should be watching in the future.
Absolutely. So next up we have Bobby Alexander defeating Flaco Flores by split decision.
Dude, you're having a rough day right now with your voice, and he retains the Masters middleweight Nogi title. This is the most you've ever coughed on a show ever.
Oh yeah.
But you're doing it professionally. You're leaning away and coughing, and then you're coming back to the mic.
Right as you say that, right?
Next match.
Mark Franescuti defeats Joshua Sutton by Ezekiel. Kevin McCormick defeats Aaron Culpepper by split decision.
And that was Fight of the Night for the brown belts.
Wally Thompson defeats Adrian Teddington by knee bar. William Tackett defeats Michael Salazar by rear naked choke.
William Tackett, another one.
So crazy to see him so far down.
Wait, is he brown belt now?
I guess so, or he must be
fighting to win does that. If you're like a purple belt and you're crushing guys, they're like, all right, you're fighting guys like Nicky Ryan. They're like, you're not gonna fight purple belts anymore because we're fighting black belts. So that's probably I think that's probably what's happened with Tackett. Tackett's just been on a crushing tear recently, and they're like, all right, you gotta fight at least brown belts.
Sal Martinez defeats Dusty Martinez by north-south choke. Sheila Lindsay defeats Montana De La Rosa by triangle. Daniel Alvarado defeats Jordan Villanova by split decision. Felipe Timoteo defeats Tyler Murra by decision.
Split decision.
split decision. Noel Morgan defeats David Spindle by decision.
On to the purple belts.
Keaton Standridge defeats Dylan Hinojosa by decision.
To become the fight to win lightweight no-gi champion for the purple belts.
Jaden Mueller defeats Desiree Favoreto by split decision.
And that was fight of the night for the purple belts.
Anthony Robinson defeats Thomas Rodriguez by triangle.
And that was submission of the night for the purple belts.
KL Golson defeats Lawrence Trotter by split decision. Edward Wisnant defeats Christopher Shaw by decision. Dylan Kastelik defeats Junior Flores by split decision. Donnie King defeats Adam Cruz by split decision.
On to the blue belts.
Erica Snow Barnes defeats Catherine Steenberg by choke.
And that was submission of the night for the blue belts.
Alfonso Caio defeats Flo Temegnil by split decision.
And that was fight of the night for the blue belts. That was a way better pronunciation of that name than I would have ever done, Emil. So props to you.
Mason Woodward defeats Tommy Nickel by decision.
On to the kids and teens result. That was a kids and teens match. Emil, I do like one thing during this reading. I butcher names bad, and I read submission of the night, brown belt, purple belt, black belt, judo.
Okay.
Let me do my thing.
Mason Woodward defeats Tommy Nickel by decision.
And that was submission of the night for the kids and teens.
That was fight of the night.
I was already ahead of you again. Fight of the night for the kids and teens. I butcher my thing immediately after giving you shit about it.
Michael Brennan defeats Angel Patino by armbar.
And that was submission of the night for the kids and teens. Great event. Definitely some matches to go back and rewatch. Definitely some cool pieces, some technical pieces back and forth, some people that we're going to definitely cover in the future on Fight to Win and on other events on this card. It was a good one. On the next one. So on to a recap of the World Jiu-Jitsu Festival. This is day one. This is a 2-day event. As of now, it's Sunday at about 5:30. So we've only seen day one. Day two happens in a couple hours here. We're going to basically cut the segment in after this tomorrow.
Yeah, so it starts at 5 p.m. Pacific time, so 8 p.m. Eastern, so it'll be after we've been recording.
And after this episode comes out, this will have already happened. So, so this is just day one. Day one. What matches do you want to talk about for this one?
Well, we'll get into it.
You want to start with Lovato? Or you want to start with Musumeci?
Oh, we can start with Lovato.
Let's start with Lovato. Rafael Lovato Jr. versus Boogeyman Richie Martinez.
Yes. This was just crushing top pressure by Lovato.
Lovato is one of the most accomplished, if not the most accomplished American in jiu-jitsu of all time. And Richard Martinez is a really good competitive black belt. Lovato passed, looked really good.
Yeah,
he passed a different way.
He's basically from top half, more or less. And Lovato gets head control, and you just can't allow that to happen.
Dude, he's so good.
He's
so good. Richie's tricky. We've seen Richie trick guys up before and give him problems, especially in nogi. We saw Martinez in the half guard trying to do not the fly trap, but the jailbreak. Over, and Lovato would just step his hip out, and just really good control from Lovato.
Lovato is able to secure the pass once he gets once from top half he gets head control. He just basically steps around, and we see Boogie go for that sort of far
jailbreak.
The jailbreak, he takes his far leg. He's so flexible. He gets it back, but he's not able to.
That is one of the biggest dudes that has the most flexibility in his knees of anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah,
he's one of the only guys at that high level that plays rubber guard. And so, he has some serious knee flexibility to get his legs in there.
Yeah.
And that's his preferred method of getting at a half guard, but Lovato's able to kind of shut it down, gets on top, locks up a really, really tight Kimura and just bangs it across the body.
Yeah.
And just puts it in the pocket, and that's it.
I think, what would you say, the time between Lovato getting the Kimura grip and getting the tap is maybe 5 to 10 seconds?
I clipped it to watch it over and over again to see. He by the time he gets the grip and, it's in between Boogie's legs, and he pulls out of the legs. The time he finishes is 2.5 seconds.
Yeah,
he just is so good
rips
and dominant. He is behind the body. He's all the way. It's a beautiful Kimura sequence from Lovato here.
Yeah,
so again, Lovato, current Bellator champion, former world champion. Dude is amazing. So it's cool to see him competing in jiu-jitsu. He talked about I don't want one of those guys that goes in jiu-jitsu and never comes back. I want to do both. So it's cool to see him. Again, competing. Another guy we don't see competing a ton, but we see at the big events is Mike Musumeci. Also on this card.
Yeah. So he's against Joseph Lee. Mike Musumeci is an outlier. Okay, we talk about outliers on the show, and actually before his second Worlds run, we were like, oh, we'll see if Mikey, repeats.
Because our outlier criteria typically is 3 world championships. You kind of cement yourself there, or
or an ADCC within 3 years, basically.
Yeah, or like some other qualifiers as well that put guys in there, put guys out of there. But like,
I would say those are the main criteria.
Those are the main criteria we're looking at, is like, can you be matched up against pretty much anyone in the world and usually win, and then only you're losing ever to like the top upper echelon of guys that are also outliers or right on that line.
Yeah, and Musa Meche was able to get back-to-back IBJJF World wins.
Different weight classes.
Beat Bruno Malfacine.
Dude, I pulled up his record for giggles here.
This is Mike's.
Michael Musa Meche's record. Yeah. And I was looking at, like, dude has 2 losses that are listed on his record of black belt. Isaac Doderlin and Kleber Souza, of which he has avenged both. He has beaten João Miao 4 times.
Yeah.
He has beaten everyone else. He
Bruno
has a win
Malfacine,
over Farias twice at least. He has a win over Malfacine. He has a win, like, the dude is...
Yeah, he's unstoppable.
He's crazy. So in this match, we see him pass the guard, get around, get to like an omoplata position, finish the omoplata even before the full like turn up and turn around.
This was a squash match, like a minute 45 in, and the match is over. And Mike stepped back and allowed Joseph to regard at one point. Like, yeah, he was
so good. He's in the pad. Like, it was beautiful work from Mikey here. Again, excited to see him. I think he's going to step back as he finishes his studies. I think he talked about it in the post-fight interview. I heard about it. I forget when you're going to see him again, but I think he's going to step. He's done for 2019. We're not going to see him compete on anything else this year, and then we'll see him back in the 2020 season. Hopefully continuing to be amazingly dominant and look really good.
Yep.
So take the next match.
Yep. We have Edwin Najmi versus Mateus Luna. So there was actually good exchanges throughout here, 50-50, leg locks, kind of back and forth. Najmi looking very calm, collected, composed. And
Najmi talked about it in the post-fight interview, and even before, like, he was really unhappy with his ADCC performance. I was like a little bit like sad. He just didn't have that fire back in him, and so he wants to get back in here and just like put on good performances. He eventually gets the pass from double
under?
Yeah, double unders, like pretty much right to the back, and then fights for the back control, and then gets the rear naked choke over and, you know, finishes it. There's some interesting sequences back and forth, some leg locks. Luna really throws up some, you know, not really, really deep heel hooks, but they're definitely engaged in a leg battle for the majority of the match. So I was kind of surprised that it finished with a rear naked choke, because it looked like both guys were looking for the leg locks.
Absolutely, yeah.
So anything else on that match?
Nope.
Final match, we have Diego Romalo versus Bill the Grill Cooper.
So lots of pensive guard work in this match. Basically, Romalo eventually grabs, they're in 50-50, and Romalo grabs a straight ankle, and he rolls belly down, and he's able to get the tap there.
Yeah.
We've
seen really hot and cold performances from Cooper. We've seen Cooper just come out and look like a world beater. We've seen other performances where Cooper comes out and looks like a little off or something. It's just like Bill Cooper is really, really good, but has like super hot and cold days in performance. So I'm not sure if we saw
this wasn't hot or cold. You know, it was just the back and forth went for a while.
Yeah.
But you know, there wasn't remarkable explosions from either side until they get to the 50-50, and then
Romalo's just able to get there, get down, and then turn all the way belly down to get the straight ankle lock on it.
Yeah.
So day 2 is tomorrow. We'll probably cut that in right here, so we're not going to talk about, we'll talk about it later. Like, it'll probably cut in right here, and we'll talk about day 2. So I want to do a recap of World Jiu-Jitsu Festival Day 2. I want to talk about one match on Day 2, which is Gordon Ryan versus Rousimar Palhares.
Yeah, this match was highly anticipated. We've seen the Danaher Death Squad guys go against Palhares now a few times. And
wait, Tonin, who else?
Did Shields have a Palhares match?
Craig Jones. Craig Jones was been training with DDS guys, so it's like, that's why I was like, wait, and Shields had one too. You're right. Okay, I was wrong.
So
Shield. Well, that was an MMA fight where Palhares like gouged his eyes.
Oh yeah, that's
lot.
right.
And that was that match. That was a fit with controversy.
So yeah, basically,
Gordon Ryan takes Palhares' back and then is there for about 14 minutes and 10 seconds and wins the decision.
Yeah, that's the summary of the match. Gordon takes Palhares' back within 59 seconds. It was under a minute.
57, I think.
Yeah,
57 to 56 seconds on the clock. At least it could have been a little different time for the round time, but basically Palhares, like, he looks good. They actually, honestly, the first minute of the match is fairly interesting. There's some good butterfly work. There's some really like good arm dragging controls. There's some good leg control. Like, honestly, had that match continued like that for the duration of the time, it would have been like astonishingly like interesting match from a technical perspective. You saw really good weight shifts on top and like actively looking for the leg, but looking for the positional control from both guys. Some super cool entries from Palhares. And then Palhares goes for a toe hold.
It's like a no setup toe hold too. Like
Palhares kind of drops back, and he's really, really good. And so a lot of times on like guys that aren't like world-class level grapplers, he can get in those entries like that. It's sort of, he has those layback entries a lot, and he goes to do it, and Gordon Ryan goes, cool, free back mount.
I mean, I remember Gary talking about this in the lead up to his Palhares match.
On Palhares.
Yeah. Basically, he was like, the Danaher Death Squad, like, studied Palhares before they even knew that they were going up against him. They were studying all of the major leg lockers.
Yeah. And he was the guy at the current meta, one of the few guys at that era, like that was killing guys with leg locks in MMA, in Jiu-Jitsu.
Right. So they watched they probably know Palhares. They probably watched more of his matches than he has, right? In terms of like overall time. I doubt that he has gone back and watched
and match studied himself a bunch.
Right.
Those guys are known for doing tape studies, so they know
tape studies, but like literally like a lot of what he does was, the things that he does, that Palhares does well, was incorporated into their leg system
that they have.
They talk about it all the time. They take stuff wherever they see it. They develop their own stuff.
And he's got some really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
But this, he just sort of goes for a toe hold, a little not out of position. Gordon Ryan's just able to see the setup, and then just immediately put the back in. And then he's there for 14 minutes and like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And at one point, he traps the arm like really late into the match, and Palhares is able to pull out. Gordon Ryan posted on Instagram that he thinks he was greasing. He had a hard time getting across the choke. I mean, Gordon Ryan was super down. He switches the body triangle, switches the legs a lot.
Did Gordon say that or Gary say that?
I thought Gordon had said that.
Okay.
Again, that was the whole match. Like, it was Palhares like defending, honestly, impressively defending for as long as he did. He does he's like high on the back, he's low on the back, like he's high up. Like, really, if you honestly want to look at like really high level rear naked choke defense, this is what it looks like. Again, it looks very similar to, honestly, a lot of what Rodriguez was doing versus Kenan Duarte. Like, really similar position with the shoulders and with the hands. Not able to Gordon's not able to ever get the choke in really deep ever. He gets over the face like a little bit, but never like, oh, it's close. That's the whole match. So Gordon wins a pretty straightforward decision on it. And looks good. Anything else you got on the match?
That's it.
All right, that does it for day 2 of World Jiu-Jitsu Festival. So on to our recap of the Shugyo Invitational, Shugyo Episode 7, the final episode. We saw Nathan Orchard versus Max. Give me his last name.
Roshkov.
Dude, for some reason, I keep butchering his last name. Before we started recording, I kept trying to say it, and I was just like, all right, Emil's going to say this name now, as per usual. So these two guys, if you haven't seen Shugyo, the entire event is now up. It was released episodically, event by event, week by week. They did a pause. They paused for the final episode because ADCC was going on. They released the final episode. It's 35 minutes long. It has been a trip to watch these guys compete against each other. Nathan Orchard and Max Roshkov are in the finals. The winners of both sides of the brackets. And what do you think about the match?
Yeah, the match it's great. It's two completely different styles. It's a smash mouth wrestler versus a 10th planet, dexterous guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, those are two very disparate styles, and it's awesome to see them play out in a submission only format with no time limit. What ends up happening is there's really good back and forth.
Oh yeah.
And ultimately, Max begins to go for his A game, which is control and pressure.
That top pressure control, we saw him use it in a couple of different matches. That Darce game was good. He gets on top, he puts really good pressure into you from the top position and looks to start hunting from there.
Right. So what ended up happening was they were standing, and Nathan got I think it was an arm in guillotine, and he actually got this really interesting grip that he talks about in the post-fight interview where you have to see it. It's hard to describe with your words.
In the audio podcast, Emil is waving his hands around in a very interesting configuration.
It's like this weird... it's not a typical Gable grip.
It's like an inverted Gable grip. Basically, you lock your hands over your own... I can't.
See, exactly.
If you listen to the audio podcast, go look at the YouTube version of the show and look at what Emil is doing with his hands right now.
It's a really cool grip. I'm going to start messing around with it. But basically, Nathan talks about how the only time he teaches his students to hang on to a guillotine is if they have this kind of entwined gable grip, we'll call it. And so he ends up getting that. Max is on top in this weird guillotine, and Nathan is able to roll him from bottom side. That's how tight that grip is. And they keep scrambling. Max gets to a north-south position. And the 10th Planet guys, we've seen this time and time again. You can put them into controlling positions, like you can put them in bottom side, you can put them in bottom north south, and they have these interesting ways of getting out. And so Nathan starts to do that thing where you kick your legs over and take the back from bottom north south.
I want to say it was Meow. We saw Meow do this at Grapple Fest 5 versus his opponent there. I think it was Meow. I think we might have also seen Imanari do a variation of this as well. Like the way they start to I think it was definitely Meow. Because they hit a reverse triangle off from the same position from the guard like this.
It's just bottom north south. You're just so flexible that you can invert to the point where you take their back.
And then when he inverts, he doesn't fully get the back there, but he starts pummeling through for the arm. And you see some really camera angles looking directly on the side where Orchard's feet are like pummeling the arm. And you see him doing some really interesting pummels on the shoulder and the arm from Max's far side arm. Yeah. As like a controlling point. It was super nifty to watch. The first thing
that Nathan does is he snakes his leg across Max's abdomen to get into that inverted armbar position. Then Nathan starts attacking the armbar as you would from an inverted armbar attack. And Max is doing a great job. He pushes the leg down and staples it to the ground with his knee, and then Nathan pummels through, as Maine is saying, and he's able to fight off Max's far arm.
It's a really nifty
It's so good.
And you look at man, he's really composed. He's like in the stack, like really composed there and still like fighting with the legs. It's nifty. You don't see a lot of guys that have that level of like comfort in that position to have the wherewithal to be fighting like the legs and the hands that way.
Absolutely. But at this point, Nathan is in his zone. He feels totally comfortable here, and he talks about this a little bit in the post-fight interview, and he's able to transition from the arm bar into a tight triangle and gets the tap. Yep. So he is now Shugyo's
inaugural champion at 155. So super exciting. Like, that's awesome. A bunch of other guys on the event got paid out for fastest sub. Second place got paid out. Like, Shugyo was a really, really fun event. We have been covering it for, 2 months at this point? I think so, more than 2 months now, because we did previews for it. Like, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I really hope that more events run their events like this. I had a great time covering it. It was a really great bracket. The grapplers were good. The interviews were good. The way they set it up was good. The technical stuff that they did with it was good. Like, it was just a really cool, unique event, and I really hope that we see a Shugyo 2 out of this one.
I think what I love most about the event is you get to show jiu-jitsu as it is, because you can edit down
a 71-minute match into
5 minutes,
2 minutes, 5 minutes. A highlight video of like, hey, here are the pieces you want. And then if you want to see the whole match, it's out on YouTube.
Right.
Here it is. And all those matches, all the full-length matches are up on YouTube for you to watch. So it's like, it gives you the best of both worlds. Really great event. Go watch it. It is free on YouTube. It's always great to see high-level free content going up on YouTube for you to watch. Support Shugyo. Go and watch it. So, how you doing? We got Rob Sullivan here. We're going to talk about Nick Rodriguez versus Pat Downey on who is number one. Rob brought you in because I don't know wrestling that well, and you do. You wrestled, you coach wrestling, and you're generally kind of the guy I go to whenever I have sort of wrestling questions. When this matchup was initially announced, I texted you. I was like, hey, Rob, what do these rules mean?
Yeah.
So it was a special freestyle match, and you kind of termed it best.
It was modified freestyle rules.
Okay.
They took freestyle rules, and they were like, okay, how can we do this to make it as even as possible?
Yeah, because basically Pat Downey is a very, very good wrestler. We're getting to kind of his credentials and who he is, because he's trying to set up a match with Gordon Ryan, or Gordon Ryan and him are trying to set up a match. We'll talk about that at the end of this segment. Very, very good wrestler, but about 40 pounds smaller than Nick Rodriguez. So they changed the rule setup to basically, you kind of turned it as a takedown contest, is what they made it.
Yeah, it pretty much, that's all it was.
Yeah, so the first rule was like 4 feet to back. And I was like, what does this mean? And it was four points for if you
go to back. Like, so if somebody shoots in on a takedown and I drive you off your feet and you go straight to your back, that's 4 points. As opposed to if I shot in, got a single, brought you up, tripped you, you dropped to a knee, your hands hit, and now it's, a 2-point takedown.
Okay, so it's basically different
freestyle,
scoring.
if you hit your back straight off the mat, go feet, air, ground onto your back, essentially it's 4 points.
Okay.
It's been different things, but
so there were some other rules in this, like it was a 1 point for a push out.
1 foot, and that's in freestyle. That wasn't anything new.
Okay.
The push out is you get them over the line.
Okay, both feet over the line. Yeah, I saw that when the match.
Like
It was
sumo.
both feet over the double white or the big white.
The big white line.
Big white line. What was the parterre?
Parterre.
Parterre. Yeah.
Parterre.
Parterre.
Parterre is so in high school wrestling, folk style wrestling, what we do here in the States mostly, collegiate wrestling, you have referee's position. That is the thing that looks like turtle that you set up in. So in freestyle and Greco, you have a parterre, and parterre is after you take somebody down, you'll notice in freestyle or the international styles, they're not usually immediately trying to get up. They're trying to flatten out and keeps their hips as tight to the mat as possible.
Yeah.
As a person tries to turn them and expose their back to the mat.
Okay.
And however many times you expose them, and there's lots of rulings on like if I went hand to hand, meaning if you turned me, my hand touched the mat, and as I rotate, my other hand touched the mat.
It's fine.
That's less points than if you rolled me flat across my back.
Oh, okay.
And I went shoulder to shoulder. And I haven't wrestled freestyle in a while, but I watch it, and every year they change the rules. So they always try to like, maybe one country gets all sour about something, they'll doctor something up and change something. But for the most part, they just eliminated that, and for good reason. Especially since Nicky is coming from a jiu-jitsu world now, and his mindset is jiu-jitsu, and one of his big strongest traits is his scramble game. He can't scramble. Like, he's not going to scramble in that situation. If he's freestyle, he's going to expose his back every time he does something. Okay. So he's going to constantly just rack up score while trying to get in on a leg.
So basically, they tried to make a rule set that made sense for both guys' strengths that would potentially create a more even matchup between the two guys, and that's what this was.
About as even as you could make it.
So let's talk about first. What was the event? What was this? I know they kind of tacked the super fight onto this event. These guys got announced on Thursday afternoon. Yeah. And funny enough, Pat Downey, PD3, I'll call him PD3, Pat Downey the third versus Nick Rodriguez. And they found out they trained together at NJRTC, New Jersey Regional Training Center, which is like Olympic sort of high-level preparatory.
It's a preparatory. So what was it? Is that was
Stanford and Rutgers, I think.
Was it No, it was Princeton.
Princeton and Rutgers.
Stanford, Connecticut.
Man, it's all those. It's like those athletic colleges.
Princeton and Rutgers. It's training center there, but it's a local to that area wrestling club. It's a USA wrestling club.
Okay.
And a lot of teams a lot of places can be USA wrestling clubs. They're all over the place, but they are one of the more notable ones. They have, you've got all the kids coming out of there from all the different high schools in that area, and then you have two big Division I teams that are bringing their guys in there.
Okay. That makes more sense. Right. Okay, so you're a pretty decent size, good high level wrestling room.
Yeah. If you're working in that room, you're getting work. Like you're definitely you got some hammers that you got to deal with every day.
So these guys train together. On a Thursday afternoon, we found out that they were matched up, and they produced a really funny like video between the two of them. And I was like, these guys train together and are about to go to Wisconsin or Iowa and fight each other.
Hawkeyes Arena.
So what is this event? We Are Number One. What is that?
We Are Number One is they've been doing this. It hasn't been Flow has started this, and it's what it is. They bring together all the high school number one ranked kids around the country, number one, number two, number one, depending on weights, whatever. They make matchups around them for folk style and freestyle.
Okay.
I mean, I watched a majority of it. I was at a bull roast for my sports booster of the high school I coach at, but I was watching it, pissing everybody off. I was like staring at my phone watching this thing. And most of the matches were either freestyle or folk style.
Yeah.
And
so it's basically to determine who the number one is in high school. That weight class for high school.
Yeah.
Okay,
and,
cool.
All over the country. And you had that was high. That was high level wrestling at high school. I mean,
Okay.
we were talking the best of the best of the best.
Okay, yeah, because it was cool. Like they announced, guys, I'm just less familiar. I am less familiar with wrestling, and everyone else in the grappling right is. So we brought you in because you are more familiar with wrestling. So
there's people better than me. So thank you for having me on here to have to do
Rob,
my homework.
You talk good, Rob. That's why I like
good,
you.
yeah.
And you teach me wrestling, so it's like I got a bias.
Any question I can't answer, I text Ryan Mackin and ask him. So
let's go on first before we talk about the matchup. Who is Pat Downey? Like, let's give some context.
So he's a Marylander.
Yeah, he's a Baltimore guy.
He's everything. He embodies Baltimore.
He's got a natty bow tattoo on his shoulder.
I will say this: I do not know Pat personally. I know a lot of people who know Pat personally. I've been in the same room as Pat as a coach when he was a wrestler, but I don't know him. I'm not going to perpetrate his name or act like I do. He was a state champ at Loch Raven, and then he was in private school. What was he there? I know the Loch Raven one because I coached public school. But he was, I'm going to read this. I don't really care if anyone's judging me on that. But he was 3-sport athlete, very good, placed in national preps. To put this in perspective, that's big. Just to place in national preps is huge for a high schooler.
Very, very good wrestler.
Private school state champ. Like he was fucking good. Like at the end of the day, he was good. And then you go on to college and you're a Big 12, a third of Big 12. Again, I'm reading this just so everybody knows because I'm not going to remember all this stuff. And he did a lot and he moved schools and jumped around a bit. We don't need to talk about that. Again, I don't want to get a bunch of facts wrong. But last year, the big one, or earlier this year, he Final X champ, which puts him in the running for the world team. So now
he made the world team, didn't he?
He made the world team. By winning 5X makes the world team.
So he made the world team at under 86 kilograms for wrestling, for freestyle wrestling. So he is going to the Olympics, or what's the deal with that?
So he still has to go through world team trials.
Okay.
He'll still.
But he's in those trials. So basically, he potentially is one or two matches away.
He's he's ranked number one
Number
right now.
one. I think he's
David Taylor was injured at Final X and wasn't able to wrestle Downey when they went for the world team trials.
Okay.
Later. They should have wrestled.
But he was injured, so he couldn't wrestle. Okay. So technically it's Downey, David Taylor, and Nicholas Helfer.
Yeah. So there and maybe someone else qualifies. I don't remember how that one's gonna work. But they'll still have world team trials, which is another mini tournament, to decide who's gonna be on the Olympic team. But Pat represented, less than a month ago. Was it less than a month ago?
Yeah, in Kazakhstan?
Yeah, Kazakhstan, that he represented the U.S. at 86
kilograms. Under 86 kilograms.
Yeah, under 86. And he went 2-1. I remember watching that. I mean, he did great against guys that nobody gave him a chance against. And it's
we're talking about, Pat Downey is a very, very good, international level good freestyle wrestler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like he is.
So I want to provide context of because this whole week has been who is Pat Downey for me? Basically, on Thursday onward from this matchup got announced, I was like, Rob, who is this guy and how big of a deal is this? You're like, he's a very, very, very good wrestler. So a guy, an Olympic hopeful. Very soon we'll figure out if he has actually made the Olympic team for United States versus Nick Rodriguez. So we've gone through what is number one or who is number one. Let's talk about the match itself.
Yeah. I was excited watching it. To put this in perspective, me and another assistant coach, one of my training partners as well, we were like huddled around my phone in a corner watching it as my phone was dying and I had to find a plug. And from a technical standpoint, from the standpoint of E1, he did what I figured he'd do and teched him. I figured he would tech fall him.
So Pat Downey beats Nick Rodriguez 12-0, and in wrestling, for freestyle wrestling, it's 12. A tech fall is 12 points.
12 points. 12-point difference. So he teched him.
He came out super aggressive.
He started going real hard, and the big thing about that is you're gonna make a person make mistakes, and you're gonna also push them out. And that's what he was doing.
Right.
He was racking up
I think the first two push-outs were in the first minute.
And then he blasted in, and Nick tried to roll him through off of the takedown, and he stuck himself straight to his back. So there you have 4. So now you're talking whatever that was. That was a 5. I remember that one specifically. That was 5-0 at that point. He got back up. He had another push-out. Now we're talking 6-0.
Right.
And Pat went really aggressive for that first maybe a little less than 90 seconds because it was 2 3-minute rounds. And he was going. But that 40-pound weight difference.
We started Rodriguez to like lean on him a little bit.
He started
and, like,
putting his weight on him. And you could see
bit.
Pat was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to keep doing that. And he eventually, I can't remember exactly if he hit a duck under. I think he hit a nice little duck under. But I know he got his back and suplexed him. That's how he hit the tech going out of bounds.
That was the final tech at the end of the second period.
Yeah, that's how the final takedown. He had a couple more push outs here and there, but he I mean, for the most part, he out footworked Rodriguez in the clinch. There's a lot of hanging on to each other, which I think had a lot to do with Nick trying to put his weight on him.
Yeah,
and
kind of lean over. I mean,
Pat just being able to out footwork.
That's a strategy we saw Nick be really successful with in ADCC.
Yeah,
you had some thoughts. Let's go into that. So let's talk about. You had some thoughts about Nick Rodriguez's performance at ADCC.
Well, let me finish up the Pat thing.
Okay.
I think Pat did the best job he was going to do against someone 40 pounds heavier than him, dragging his weight on him.
Nick does have a wrestling experience, not at the same level that Pat has, but still like a larger,
and they know each
fairly
other
competent wrestler. Yeah,
they train together, so he knows what to do, and they're being playful about it too. There's like Pat's coming in super aggressive because he's trying to prove something as well, and it was a fun match. I think everyone got what they paid for in that one, and nobody could expect it. I don't think there's any surprises, especially when you add in that 40-pound weight difference. It's not like you expect Pat to just hit like a takedown clinic on a guy that much bigger than you, because to put it in perspective, like there's a reason for weight classes in wrestling. In jiu-jitsu, a person can go to their back and suddenly they become small. Suddenly they don't feel as heavy when you're on top of them, and you can base heavy in pressure. But when you're trying to get somebody down who's 40 pounds fucking heavier than you, it's like running into a wall. So like most of my injuries have happened because I try to wrestle someone who's got 30 plus pounds on me, and I'm running into them with my neck from coming off to the side somewhere.
So wrestling, like the weight classes play a huge. But you don't see absolutes in wrestling.
That's
not a thing.
It would be horrible.
Right.
I would never want to watch that.
Right. But it's not a thing in wrestling. Jiu-Jitsu, like absolutes, opens are really common.
Yeah, because
and even in judo, like it's uncommon.
In judo it's the same thing.
Right, it's uncommon.
It's all leverage, and like a big guy grabs me, even if he doesn't have good technique. If I'm in a gi and like we're going, grip for grip, that dude's going to throw me through the fucking wall. If he's heavier than me, he might even throw me if he's smaller than me. But either way, he's going to toss my ass if he's bigger than me.
Right.
So the Rodriguez thing. So
you got anything else to add on the Pat Downey versus Rodriguez match who's number one?
No, it was what I expected. Especially, I didn't even realize their weight difference was that large. I
think it was 30. I think it was 40 pounds.
Because Pat carries his weight pretty well, as does Nick. Like, Nick doesn't. He looks, obviously, they're both big fucking guys. Yeah. But Pat's a brawl dude. It's always hard to tell how heavy somebody is when they're stocky like that. And I was like, maybe they're close. And then I heard 40. I was like,
I told you. I was like, it's about 40 pounds. You were like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I knew this. I heard the other day he was heavier by like 30. I didn't hear it was 40. But
I thought it was 40. I thought and he's 86.
Either way, it doesn't fucking matter. It's heavy. Yeah. Like, it's big. It makes a big difference, especially when they're taller than you and heavier.
Yeah, which Rodriguez is.
Yeah, that's heavy. So, about that. So
about ADCC and Rodriguez.
So the big thing, and I've been prepped. I would like everyone to know, I've been prepped on how I'm allowed to talk about this.
I was like, Rob, don't be disparaging as you talk about stances in ADCC.
So in jiu-jitsu, the stance isn't always as important, especially when someone is going to pull guard and or they're larger. So something I've noticed, the smaller guys concern themselves a little bit more with stance in the same way a wrestler does. The elbow, I can reach and touch the floor because I can quickly pull guard or I can quickly shoot. And I'm constantly battling between, are they going to go after my neck or do I shoot and score my two? There's a little bit more of a battle there on the lighter weights.
In jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So stance becomes more important. Guys get smaller because then they can shoot on the legs or they can just sit guard real quick, pull
you can go underneath the guy more effectively.
You can do something there. Bigger guys don't rely on that so much, and specifically in no-gi, the game from everything ADCC tends to be top pressure. They want to be on top.
I mean, they're giving the guy on top the decision more so than not. So it pays
ADCC
to be on top.
Rules favor you getting that takedown.
It's submission wrestling. They are looking for you to wrestle and then get to a submission.
So when you're a bigger guy, you're used to snapping somebody down, doing a lot of things from the clinch. The problem is the majority of guys Rodriguez faced stood they kept their weight over their toes is what it was. Whether that's their game plan, usually they hang out in the clinch, but I don't think they were ready for the power that Rodriguez had in the snap. And what I mean is a snap down. And we watched it. I was talking about this in his second match where he
Sanchez
drove him down real quick. And it was like I saw a bunch of gifs of this. And it really had to do with he leaned his weight forward. One of my favorite things to do is when I feel somebody put their weight into me, leaning on me. It's like you're going to snap them.
What's up, Rob?
Yeah.
I've
done it many times.
I've hit my face on the mat a multitude of times.
It's my favorite thing to feel. Because if you're a guy that doesn't want to shoot, you just want to snap people down, that's what you want. You want body weight leaning over their own toes onto you, putting their hands on you. And it just makes that snap down come real quick. And Rodriguez took advantage of that. The fact is guys were used to being able to clinch and either pull or just be able to get a sloppy takedown to what it usually looks like.
Yeah, I mean, again,
sorry everyone if you're offended.
Well, the level of
different.
like takedown game, like anyone who thinks it's different.
And Rodriguez is All-American, right? I'm right in saying that?
I think so.
I'm almost positive.
Yeah, I think he was All-American. Yeah.
So you're still talking about extremely high level wrestler.
Yeah, I mean he was D3, but like did well. Like he is no slouch in wrestling. That's why
he's a good wrestler.
That's why we even entertained this matchup.
Like he's in a deep room,
and he's wrestling with actual wrestlers. He's one of the few jiu-jitsu guys that spends like a good amount of his time
wrestling,
actually wrestling.
Right, and I have a huge respect for that. And the Danaher guys the Danaher guys are all heavy on the head. Like they want that neck. They want the head. They're going legs or they're going head. That's their whole game.
Yep.
And it's
not a whole lot of arm locks.
Yeah, they want those two things. Like they're either going after your head, and that takes snaps and making people force people to make bad shots. Snap downs work when someone has a bad shot.
Right. Which jiu-jitsu you see
a lot of.
You see a lot of.
I mean, I've made my whole game off of dragging people into front headlocks, and it's because the weight comes over the toes, and it's like, whoop, cool, I'm gonna bring you down. And that was happening for him. It was all day. It was like given to him. And, when it didn't work, he was able to just stay heavy pressure on top of somebody who tried to pull guard out of those positions. Right. So, I mean, that snap down was that's key. And when a person is just leaning their weight on you. So
that's all I got. You got anything more for ADCC?
No, that was the big one.
So let's talk about the next thing.
I do have one more thing.
Okay.
This is just so the day after I was like hyped up watching.
Everyone was hyped up, dude. Lachlan Giles ran through three big dudes. It was a great event.
I was hyped up watching one. I of course I want to see the wrestler dominate, but I'm watching some of the guys I really like lose too. But the big one, the big match that I saw, really obvious problem was like with Tonin and JT Torres. I love Gary Tonin. He's hilarious. I get a little fanboy about him. But Torres, man, there was this huge difference, and it came down to stance. And I said it in my class the next night. Torres never broke stance. They went out of bounds. They reset. And Tonin, who's been training for MMA, you could see that he was shaking it off. Like he was like coming back in. He was like getting himself back into his zone or taking that big deep breath.
Yeah.
And JT Torres, man, that motherfucker never stood up straight. He stayed ready to go the whole time. And this is something you tell every wrestler. It's like you got to be ready to go. Like if your match is 6 minutes long, you better be ready to go 20 in that stance. You better be able to have your knees bent down and that chest over your thigh and be able to touch the floor, and you stay there. And if anyone that watched who's number one who chimed in to see that or popped in there to see it, is there a bug in here?
Giant flycatcher.
So you saw guys and you never break a stance.
No.
And you don't come up out of that stance. You're always in the right position, and it's showing at ADCC. That shit matters, especially at this. Again, that was a smaller weight class.
77.
Those dudes, like there was good solid wrestling in those matches, and it was won by the guy who never really broke stance.
Yeah,
he's getting behind everybody. Whether he was finishing or not, he was still wrestling that from the feet.
He took Jackson down. JT Torres is no slouch in jiu-jitsu wrestling.
And Jackson's a guy that he blasts in on you. It's like you're probably going to your back.
Yeah. So let's talk about the matchup that kind of got it not announced, but they're pushing. So we've been pushing. Flo's been pushing it a lot recently. They're trying to push Yuri versus Snyder, which really no one could ever get behind because there's a pretty big differential in skill there in the wrestling. It's just like everyone knows what this is. But Gordon Ryan and Pat Downey are now going back and forth for a hybrid jiu-jitsu wrestling match. And want to read through it, Rob? Want me to read through it?
You can read through it.
So, Gordon Ryan posted basically thoughts on the rule set for Pat Downey in a freestyle match. It's going to be non-competitive. In a submission grappling match, it would be non-competitive. So,
those are both true.
So here's my idea: we grapple for 15 minutes. This is Gordon Ryan saying this, by the way, under straight ADCC scoring. If you don't know ADCC scoring, listen to our episode a couple days ago when we broke through exactly what ADCC scoring is. If you take someone down and hold their back to the floor for 3 seconds, it's 1 point. Turtle, referee, or 4 point is no score. Taking the back with 2 hooks or the body triangle for 3 seconds is 1 point. Submitting your opponent is 1 point. No guard pulling, obviously. You can score 1 point at a time. The person with the most points at the end of time wins. And Downey went time and location.
Yeah. Okay, so I saw the video for when he's calling Gordon out. This is the first I've seen of this. And this, I think all this is actually awesome. I think this would be really interesting. The big hang up on this is that there's submissions at all. My 2 questions would be, one, is Downey going to wear shoes? That would be a legitimate concern of mine.
With the heel hooks there.
I'm him. I don't want to wear shoes. I want to be sweaty as shit.
Right.
The submission factor, that could make... My worry with that would be is like how injured can
how fast can Gordon put a sub on?
How quickly can Gordon hurt him, and then you've got an injured person fighting back through a whole match.
Pat Downey's not going to quit.
He's not going to quit.
No,
he's not going to quit. He's good. And how quickly does he tap? And then is he tapping so quick that he figures he can? The game plan of this could be really interesting.
Yeah,
it's like okay,
I can
do you
take you down enough?
Yeah,
or as soon as you get mad, I tap and then we go up again. And can I keep scoring enough?
Keep scoring.
Yeah.
Can I outscore? Can I take you down faster than you can submit me? And can I rack up more takedown points? Because to be honest, in 15 minutes, maybe Gordon gets him down. I kind of feel like he actually doesn't.
Probably not.
I don't think he does.
No.
It's all relies on
amazing. He's double gold ADCC, but he is not a world team He's not a world team Olympic class wrestler.
Now,
like their difference.
How much taller is Gordon from Pat?
I don't know how tall Gordon is offhand.
Because he's pretty tall.
Yeah,
I mean, I met him once, and I've only ever seen Pat like. I wasn't standing
in a wrestling stance.
Yeah, in a room. Yeah.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Gordon's taller than him.
I think so. Probably. He's longer, definitely.
I could see Gordon. The biggest problem Downey would have in that match is like blasting in and leaving his neck exposed. Now, he's got a great blast double. He can bury his head in the chest and run you over.
Yeah.
But he's going to hit the mat.
Well, Pat Downey is like his mat wrestling is really where he shines.
Yeah.
More than anything. He's a really good
honestly,
mat wrestler.
I think he could just keep racking up points and like keep him pinned and then just cut out.
And then potentially Gordon gets him down.
The biggest
but he's only racking up 1 point per sub too, the other thing. So it's like you can only score 1 point at a time. So I don't know. It's potentially interesting. I don't personally want to see a ton more like wrestling versus jiu-jitsu because it's not the 90s.
Yeah.
And we kind of like it's whatever rule set is easiest to score the points is the guy that's going to win.
I'm thinking hypothetically, like all the craziness that could happen in this. I think Pat can pin him down and keep him there for a fair amount of time. But at some point, he gets free. At some point, but what happens if one of them gets the other one's back and they just dog him out? Like they just hold on.
I assume there's going to be some more. Yeah. There's going to be some more like rules added, like more than 4 minutes of back control. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
It's interesting.
I think it's cool. I
don't want to poo-poo it too much until we've seen it, but it's just like I've seen enough matchups between like this guy and this guy where it's like style versus style where it's like it's all about the rules. Like, can you do this? Can you do this? It's like that's how it plays out. So
I mean, there's a reason why judo doesn't have shouts on the legs because wrestlers showed up. There's a reason why
because Georgians we can say because of Georgians.
You can't. There's a reason for a lot of things, and it's always because somebody else gets bummed out because their team lost. It's the reason why you there's this in freestyle. There's this in Greco. There's always reasons for all this shit.
Right.
And it's usually because someone got hurt. And I mean, like, their feelings got hurt. Like, their whole country got upset. And it's usually, I mean, it can be the U.S., but a lot of times it's like Iran or Russia. But a lot of times rules happen because this went down and everyone went, holy shit, we can't keep having that happen.
Right.
But with these things, they're nichey. It's fun. I think it's interesting. I do like one thing. The argument of jiu-jitsu versus wrestling has always been stupid to me. It can be the same. I think if you're trying to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu and you're neglecting the takedown, you are subpar. I think like you're leaving something out.
Yeah. You're super limited in a skill set.
All the time, people ask me, well, what would you, for self-defense, would you teach a girl? And this is like this argument I've had, and you'll probably get hate for like, you won't. Everyone will be like, don't have him back on, fuck that dude. But I always look at it like this. I would rather have the ability to not be taken down than to have to fight off my back. I think that's reasonable. I don't want to be taken down.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, like that's that. Not everyone who does jiu-jitsu has that ability. And not everybody who has wrestling is good enough to stop a takedown or knows what to do when they get on their back. I happen to have many statistics telling me I'm really fucking hard to get down.
Yeah, Josh, I've seen you fight. Josh, I've seen you fight professionally, numerous times. Rob, you're very hard to take down.
And so I'm happy with that skill set in my life. I've worked very hard to have it, but when it comes to like the jiu-jitsu mindset that we have to fight off our back, I think it's pretty flawed. But this makes it interesting. The problem is, in the same way, I think if you're talking about self-defense, if you don't know how to defend yourself from somebody off their back, you have an even bigger problem. Like if that's not a thing to you, like if all you can do is kind of run away from them, then that's an even bigger issue.
Yeah.
I cite Ryan Hall and Gray Maynard. Like, if you're scared of the guy saying, come to my guard, then you have a bigger issue. But, it's Ryan Hall. But,
yeah, that's kind of like a test case for that.
Yeah,
it's not really like, that's maybe a bad argument.
It's a bad argument, but it is a high-level wrestler versus a guy who's going to play off his back.
Right.
And you need to crush him, and you don't want to do it. I mean, that's neither here nor there.
That's MMA. We don't do MMA on the show.
Yeah, we're not going down that.
So you're interested in it. Could be fun.
I think I'll definitely
have you on again.
I agree with you, though.
If this happens.
I agree with you, though. I don't need to see a lot of these.
No.
Because so you're talking the king of the fucking world for jiu-jitsu and Gordon Ryan. So is Pat his equal wrestling wise? He's really not. He's not. Like kind of Jaden Cox is or like a Kyle Dake. And I'm not discrediting Pat. I'm just saying that you're talking
those guys have been there.
You're talking about, well, one, you have two-time world champions,
right?
Olympians, like that's a higher level, and in some ways the equal to the ADCC champion, to the world champion jiu-jitsu. It's really not though, because the water is so much deeper in wrestling and battle tested, and like what you did to get there was such a different world,
different path. They're different sports in different.
But it would be
life
interesting to see
sport.
those things happen too. I would love to see that. I think this would be really funny. I don't know what that weight difference is. Because Gordon's is open.
205, 220.
205, 220.
Gordon Ryan, 225, depending on like
so
what
he
is.
So they.
No, sorry. I think he's like 205. I think.
So they could only be like a 15-pound difference.
Something like that.
They could meet at like.
Well, watch me super wrong about his weight class.
Yeah,
I think
knows?
he was under 90. He was under 99 kilograms. So he was under, and he was 4 pounds under 99 because he got food poisoning. ADCC week.
Okay.
So whatever weight that was.
They could potentially be under 20-pound difference.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be the same as Rodriguez, which Rodriguez probably isn't that heavy when he's competing either. I'm sure a week off.
He's about 230.
Is he?
Okay.
Man.
I came up to his
You blow
pack.
up quick when you don't have to do shit. So.
I came up to his pack.
Yeah.
He's a large man.
Okay. He's big. Okay.
So could be a lot of fun. Rob, really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
as
no
always,
problem.
bring you on whenever we
Anytime.
bring wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
Appreciate it as always. Thanks a lot. So moving on to a brief recap of Battle Grapple 6. We actually didn't get a chance to cover this event fully. The Grappling Insider has some great information on it on their website with results and a write-up.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, dude, they put up some great stuff, and so they're honestly a big place that we turn to a lot of times for event results. For event results, it was Team UK versus the World. Team UK gets it done with Martin. Christina Martin versus Rose O'Sharon, getting it done via knee bar. That was the victory. All the other matches on Team UK versus the World were ended up being draws. And that's for that event. You can watch the event on pay-per-view. The prelims were actually streamed on Facebook, and it looks like a really cool setup for that event. That's all I got for that one.
Yeah.
So in other news, we have in the preview section for next week, we have Nick Rodriguez versus Joe Dinkerschlitt.
Yep.
I think is the gentleman's last name. This is in Forged and Fire. I don't have a ton of information about the promotion. There are some other super fights happening as well.
They seem to be Texas-based.
I think so. Yeah, I didn't really get a whole lot of information about the promotion, but that is happening next week. And then it's a really quiet week next week. A lot of previews next week.
Yeah, there was going to be a fight to win it in Baltimore, but the No Sleep team. No Sleep needed some needed some sleep.
That was basically, I think it's
probably
the only event we've ever seen, at least that I recall, Fight to Win canceling and not replacing or moving. Yeah, I know they've done it for some other events.
Totally understandable. I mean, like ADCC was just such a spectacular event, and when you saw all of the moving parts that were required for that, it absolutely makes sense.
Dude, for how tired you and I were,
I can't imagine what
not being part of the event, just like going there and covering it and doing interviews and doing podcasts, like just for our piece that we did for the Grappling Rewind, and like how tired I was. Literally, I slept 11 and a half hours on Tuesday. You're still sick.
Yeah, like it was amazing. It was absolutely worth everything. But yeah, they deserve needs a week off.
Well, they didn't. They had a week off. They had a week off in 3 weeks. Yeah. Basically, so like. Yeah, that event. So we have quieter week next week, but still have some great previews. It'll honestly give us a chance to do some more in-depth previews on stuff, which I'm happy about. Usually we're just doing the recaps, so we'll do some more in-depth previews. Actually, probably we'll talk about some of the matchups in a little more depth, like, hey, this guy brings this to the table. So it'll be kind of, some different stuff for us this next week. Again, we have a bunch of stuff coming out on YouTube still this coming week. We have, some cool content in the works for you. So find us out on YouTube because it's all going to be posted there for the most part. A lot of the video stuff we're doing.
Absolutely.
So what's your week look like? You're out next week, right?
Yes, I'm out next week. I'm going to be in Chicago. I'll be chilling with Viana.
That'll be awesome. Got any fun plans out there or just out there?
I have no idea. I'm going to let them figure it out. But yeah, it'll be good to hang with them. Other than that, I'm just going to try to recoup,
Yeah, dude. We both need some sleep.
I'm also going to be writing up my kind of thoughts on the stories that came out of ADCC. You sent me
some cool drafts there from like some concepts, and I'm like super excited what you produce. I'm always a big fan of like reading the stuff when we proof it that you produce, because you produce some really cool written pieces.
You know what it is like it's basically the stories that came out of ADCC are so fascinating, so incredible, so captivating and compelling that I think people who don't know anything about jiu-jitsu will still find them interesting. I was basically texting friends of mine that don't know anything about jiu-jitsu about like all the crazy things that happen, like Lachlan Giles run.
I feel like ADCC at the spectacle and the level it is now has the potential to really bring new people into the sport, into the professional sport, into like fans of like watching high level jiu-jitsu. Like this event elevated the platform for what a professional jiu-jitsu event. We've talked about it. I think everyone said it. That was the greatest professional jiu-jitsu event that has ever been done.
Yeah, both from the matches themselves to the crowd energy,
to the production,
to the stories that came out of it, and again, like
even to the broadcast. Like we didn't really see much of the broadcast. I've caught some of the matches after the fact that I wanted to watch again, but like all the matches were broadcast with commentary. There was brackets up. You can go watch the brackets. You can look and click on each match from the brackets.
The fact that you have a commentary team that's so stacked that you can have Braulio Estima and
Robert
Drysdale doing just a Portuguese broadcast shows you how incredible of an event it was. It was just so good. And like, again, like the stories that you come out of it, you have Lachlan Giles' insane run where he topples 3 fucking colossal competitors, including
Gordon Ryan's double gold, and then him going to fight Andre if he wants to fight in 2 years, and also wants to defend both his weight class and do the
You have Fionn Davies breaking Bia Mesquita's arm
and then getting taken out in the next round,
having her own foot broken. Like you have Kennedy Maciel, stepping in for his father, taking on his father's mantle.
You have Tanquinho at 6th ADCC getting his first championship.
The guy who knocked Cobrinha out in the 2013 IBJJF run, and Kennedy gets to face him in the finals after come from behind wins.
In
he has
two or three matches.
He has 2 come from behind wins that both end with him submitting the opponent.
Right.
It's fucking like the stories are
Not to mention Gary Tonin coming back from grappling to grappling after 2 years of being in MMA, late replacement.
Having
Ty Rotolo.
Yeah, having Gary Tonin having the fastest submission win in the tournament in the absolute bracket, and then having to face his fucking protege, Gordon Ryan, who and you know, Gordon having to submit his fucking coach in absolute. Like,
and Tom DeBlas walking on to coach Gary while Danaher was coaching Gordon. Like, there's so many. Nicky Ryan upsetting Shane Jamil Hill Taylor, the former YBJJF world champion.
There was just so many stories, and like the stories are, you don't need to know about grappling to hear about these narratives that are straight up out of movies. Like the movie Creed is basically what Kennedy did with Tanquinho.
Oh, by the way, props to you for Craig Jones versus Mateus Diniz.
Oh yeah,
for calling that.
Well,
No. I have listened to like 6 or 8 different ADCC recap podcasts, because that's what I do for my week, is just listen to jiu-jitsu podcasts. And I listened to like the pre-shows that they all did, and like I don't know of any show that talked about like how close and how contested and how Mateus's path to victory was there, like you did. So props to you for calling that one correctly.
Well,
you did a good job on that one.
Mateus is smothering, and like
but like
he will dictate.
But very few other people that are like analysts like you are called that and went through by the numbers and like, look, this is where he's going to give him problems, and this is why I think he takes the division.
Well,
and you're
there's
right.
also times where it didn't come out right. Like, so
I mean,
Paulo Miao versus Johnny Grapple. Johnny Grapple gets knocked out the first match.
We got some
Paulo
picks
Miao
wrong.
Gets
we got the
squashed by Tanquinho, who I said had lost stuff, and I was fucking wrong. I will own that. Tanquinho is looking better than ever.
Let's talk about what we got correct.
Yeah, well, I want to own it.
I'm saying I'm going to own that I called JT correctly. I called Gordon Ryan correctly.
You got JT.
I did not pick Lachlan Giles to place third at the Absolute. That was not in my cards.
No, I don't think anyone saw that.
We picked Gaval correctly versus
actually, I take that back. Josh, and I think you two had talked about Lachlan Giles, and you, at least within his division, you thought Lachlan was going to be going on a deep run.
Yeah, but I was wrong.
Yeah,
I know. Hey, going on a deep run in the Absolute.
You know what? I want to talk about. I'm glad that you brought this up, because for example, I did not see Lucas Lepre getting knocked out by Dante Leon.
No.
So what I want to talk about are the fighters that we love to see, that put on great shows at ADCC and that people should watch, that aren't necessarily champions, yet in any given point, right?
So the guys that are like on the level to get into ADCC, but necessarily didn't have a deep run, or like didn't medal at ADCC, that you should definitely watch.
Or some of them did medal, but some of them didn't. But like Dante Leon is a great example. Dante Leon, we talked about how exciting of a fighter he is.
Oh yeah.
How dynamic he is, how great he is in all of these regions. He fucking took Lucas Lepre's back. Okay, he knocks Lucas Lepre out of the tournament, who I had probably winning that division, if not at least going into the finals.
Yeah.
He had an insane match with Wagner Hosha that could have gone either way. It went to Wagner. Let's talk about Wagner. Wagner's another person who, hasn't won an IBJJF championship at black belt, hasn't won has not.
Are we sure about that?
I'll double check that, but
okay.
I'm fairly certain he hasn't.
We'll continue. If you're wrong, you're wrong.
ADCC, he hasn't won yet, but you have to turn into a Wagner match. You have to tune in.
Oh my God.
You have to watch it. He's so fucking good. He's so exciting. He can obviously hang with and threaten all of these top level guys.
Wagner
too.
Can beat anyone on the day.
Yeah, anyone.
That dude is so good.
He's so good. He beat Tanquinho in Fight to Win, right? Like he is.
And then you have JT comes on, beats guys. We're gonna see JT on Fight to Win matches.
Okay. JT's a champ. I want to shout out.
Okay, I get what you're going. I was just going guys I'm super impressed with, which is like everyone on ADCC.
Right. I'm trying to think of the other standouts.
We had Keith fighting Buchecha.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how crazy that is. I want to do an interview with Keith, because I want to talk about, hey Keith, what was that like? Like all of a sudden you're in your room watching SpongeBob and you're fighting Buchecha and you're like, okay, Like, I want to talk to him about like what that was like.
I mean, you and I think was it Ryan talking about Lachlan Giles, his insane run at Kinetic.
Yeah.
And you guys called it. Like I hadn't paid attention to Lachlan Giles. I'll admit that. I'm obviously a huge fan of him now. That those kinds of people that we see, Fionn Davies, who knocked out Bia Mesquita again. I don't think she has won the championship yet.
She won everything but Worlds.
Exactly.
And she got footlocked at Worlds.
Right.
And that was it. But I think she's, and again, everyone who follows the female side of the sport knows Fionn. She's good. But
Yeah.
but again, the ADCC puts her up with, if you potentially, for some reason, weren't paying attention to the women's side of the sport.
How about Hanato Kanuto? Just bringing the
his
fire.
match versus Gary. I think one of the best highlight reel. I was talking about this with all the guys in the Grappling Rewind. I think Gary Tonin low key might have 2 or 3 of the top 10 exciting grappling matches of all time.
Agreed.
Low key, like the match Palhares, the match with Canuto, and there's probably one more crazy Gary Tonin match in there as well.
We can say Gary Tonin too, but at this point, everyone knows he's a marquee name.
Oh yeah,
everyone knows. He puts on fire
I'm just saying,
matches.
all these different stories from ADCC.
But I wanted to throw him in as well as falling under this umbrella of really exciting grapplers. Just grapplers I don't care what their accolades are at this point. I will watch every single one of their matches because they're fire. They're amazing. They bring this dynamic excitement to the matches that anyone could enjoy. I would show any of those matches to people who don't know.
Hey, what is jiu-jitsu? This is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't usually look like this.
Right.
But when it does, if you're going to watch one match, this is the match I'm going to show you.
I want to talk about who's the guy in 88 who won the trials.
Hanger?
No, not Hanger. The other guy. Or was it 77? I can't remember. Shirtless guy. Why am I blanking? Mason Fowler.
Okay. I was like, which? There's many people that won trials, about 8 of them.
Yeah. So Mason Fowler, he's another guy I'm going to start paying attention to because his matches were incredible. Mm-hmm. He had that amazing match with Monstro.
Dude, that match was low key. That was an awesome match.
And then he had a really good match with Craig Jones too, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, incredible matches. Mason Fowler's another one of those guys where I'm going to say it and I'm going to throw him in with all of these names where. Go and watch his matches. He brings grapples exciting in an exciting fashion. And I want to transition a little bit and talk more about how ADCC was such a good event that it will bring new grapplers in. And they actually interviewed Danaher a little bit about this and got his thoughts on it. And it was really interesting to hear Danaher's thoughts on kind of how at its current state, grappling is still a niche sport, but we have these moments where it breaks out and it starts to get exciting. And of course, he gets to cite Gary Tonin, one of his own guys, as that kind of breakout star that can really bring it to grappling to a wider audience. Yeah. And so what I was going to talk about or just mention briefly is that I want to write about these stories more, write about the events that occurred, write about some of the matches that I think all from the perspective of people who haven't seen much about grappling. Maybe they're white belts who just started, or maybe they're friends of yours who, if you're a grappler, friends of yours, you want to point them out or point this out to them. I'm going to be writing about some of these things that came out of ADCC and why people should be paying attention to it.
And why you should basically start getting into pro grappling.
Yeah, exactly.
And get into grappling in general.
Yeah, if you're a white belt or someone who doesn't know.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it. I always love editing your articles and editing there because I'm a terrible copy editor. So big fan of your work. Looking forward to seeing you write up more stuff, us to do more content. Anything else you got, Emil, this post ADCC week with your sickness and my tiredness?
That's it.
Awesome. Well, as always on the show, I'm your host, Maine.
And I'm your co-host, Emil.
And we are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mats. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google Plus.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.